No, sí, yes. Ahora, muy bien. Pues
Qué
hola,
bien.
hola, hola. Buenas tardes o buenos días a todos. Soy Tasha de Tasha Teaches Spanish con otro episodio de Hablamos Español. The end of
Woohoo.
Spanish. Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching this. This is Tasha of Tasha Teaches Spanish with another episode of Hablamos Español, which means we speak Spanish. And so we have expanded our mission and our goal to include a wide variety of people. So now Hablamos Español focuses on anybody who is contributing to the diversification of foreign language acquisition. I'm also very happy to announce that, guys, we have our first male. Our first male.
Hola, hola a
For
todos.
hola, Tyrone, hola. So in the beginning, yes, it was limited also to women, which wasn't a bad thing. But I recently realized, especially in the African American sector, there already aren't a lot of us. We don't often see ourselves speaking Spanish, right? But then another level, we often don't see melanated males speaking Spanish. And so thank God I found some men in a group I'm in on Facebook, and Tyrone was willing, and I thank you. So gracias a ti.
De nada.
All right. So Tyrone, what we're gonna do, I do this with just about every guest. So you're gonna give your introduction in Español, and this is a good way for our viewers to test their Spanish comprehension. And then at the end, you'll give the same introduction in English, and then you, the viewer, can see what you got right and what you didn't. So I'll ask you some questions about yourself in Español, okay?
Muy bien. Sí.
Vámonos, pues tu nombre es Tyrone Rodriguez. Tyrone, ¿qué son sus pasatiempos?
Entonces, de mi tiempo libre, me gusta cantar karaoke
Oh, sí.
y también has hecho paseos por la playa, porque donde vivo hay una playa.
Ujú.
Y también me gusta de dibujar también,
Oh, eres un artista.
un poco, un poco de todo. ¿Y qué más? Sí, grabar videos, porque yo soy un good bloguero también en las
Ajá.
redes sociales. Sí.
Ok, qué bueno. Y cuando tú dijiste ir a la playa, yo pensé de la canción Vamos a la playa. Oh, oh, ok.
Muy bien, sí. Eso es
Tú
perfecto.
conoces la canción, ¿no?
Yo
Vamos a la
sé, pero no sé todas las palabras, pero sí, me suena.
Solo sé, vamos a la playa. Es nada
Sí,
más. Ok.
eso.
Pregunta dos. And so English speakers, don't lose me. Hang in there. All right. Número 2 o 3. ¿De dónde eres, Tyrone?
Yo soy de Londres, en Inglaterra.
Ok, qué bueno.
Sí.
Es un poco de tu familia, por ejemplo, si usted tiene esposo, esposa, niños o de tus hermanos, un poco de tu familia generalmente.
Ok. Pues mis padres son de Jamaica y Santa Lucía. Los dos están en el Caribe. Y mi madre es media inglesa.
Ujú.
Ok. Y también tengo 2 hermanas menores y 3 hermanos menores también.
Oh.
Un hermano mayor que yo.
Un total de 7.
Dios, sí. So, 4 hermanos y 2 hermanas. So,
Y, y,
6.
ti- y
Y yo,
sí,
sí, conmigo,
siete.
7.
Sí, sí. Ok, muy bien, una familia grande. Muy
Sí,
bien.
sí.
Ok. Otra pregunta, ¿tus trabajos o trabajos?
Ok, actualmente soy un tutor de inglés, entonces doy refuerzo a los alumnos en España. So, si tienen clases de inglés en la escuela, yo voy a la casa, bueno, pues no ahora mismo, pero antes yo fui a la casa de los alumnos antes del crisis y ayudo los alumnos con sus deberes. Pero ahora mismo he hecho en línea como eso.
Ujú.
Y sí, pues a veces gano dinero en línea también, subiendo anuncios para compañías y tal así.
Ok, qué bueno. O tú eres
Sí.
una persona muy ocupada. Muy
A
ocupada.
veces, sí, a veces.
Ok, siguiente. ¿Qué tú quieres ser en el futuro? Sí sea diferente de lo que haces ahora, pero tus planes del futuro o el trabajo de tus sueños, algo como así.
Pues ahora mismo estoy disfrutando enseñando inglés.
Muy bien.
Entonces, sí, quiero conseguir eso en el futuro. Pero no sé, tal vez quiero trabajar más en línea sobre marketing, no sé en español, marketing.
No, creo que
Es
se le va la
igual,
palabra, sí.
sí,
O
porque me gusta,
publicaciones, no sé,
sí,
pero
sí, porque
ok,
me encantan anuncios y mostrar cosas y tal así.
ok,
Ujú.
perfecto. Muy bien. Ok, siguiente. Oh, la última pregunta en español. So we're done,
Vale.
almost done, guys. Last Spanish question, then we're getting to the English. Thanks for holding on if you have. All right. ¿Tu canción favorita o cantante favorito?
Pues una canción,
De la música latina o de español.
sí. Pues tal vez me voy a contarte una canción, se llama Tantita Pena
Ok,
y el cantante se llama Alejandro Fernández y él es de México.
ok. Tantita Peña.
Pena, pena, pena,
Pena, perdón.
sí. Y es
You're
como
a little pain. Is that, am I interpreting that right?
more or less, sí, más o
Okay,
menos.
okay, okay, muy
Tal vez
bien.
la tema de la canción es como un hombre se separa de una mujer
Ujú.
y la mujer está, ¿cómo se? Largando de
No
él
sé.
y
Okay.
ella no está mirando atrás. Es como ella dice
Ah,
adiós y él está contando que, ok, te vas sin pena, sin tristeza, sin nada. Como que,
ah,
¿cómo puede
ah,
ser?
ok,
Sí.
necesito escuchar.
Pero es una canción, el ritmo es un poco rápida, no es muy suave o muy lento. So
Ujú.
puedes bailar a esa canción.
Y el nombre del hombre otra vez, Alejandro, ¿qué?
Fernández,
Ok.
sí.
Tentita pena.
Tantita pena.
Tantita
Es
pena. Ok,
como
gracias.
tanta pena, pero tantita pena.
Ah,
Tal vez es un poco de sarcasmo. Ay, solo un tantita pena, pero no mucho. Tal vez así. Por
okay.
supuesto.
Muy bien. All right, guys. El fin. So we have cut off the Spanish section. Hopefully you found that challenging, but in a good way, not where you were turned off. And at the end, we'll go through these same questions again. All right, so you can test your knowledge. All right, Tyrone. So one of the things you said in your introduction, which I guess I'm already letting the crowd know, is that you are from London, and I have been there
Mhm.
once. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
A woman at the time uh, was living there, and I knew her from here, being in the U.S. So I
yeah.
happened to be living in Spain, which is that's where you are now, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Right. So I lived in Spain, and it's not far. So I'm like, let me go
Mhm.
on over,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it. It was nice, but I've never met. Well, that's not true. I met a woman in college who was from Spain. So excuse me, London. Let me not lie. But
Okay,
anyway, it's
yeah,
not every day. It's not every day I'm meeting and talking with someone from there. So
yeah.
how is that? I mean, you already mentioned. I guess you got there because your parents immigrated from where they were from. But just talk about that experience. I think that's really cool.
So the London experience, yeah. So actually, my grandparents moved to London in the 50s.
Hmm.
So my parents were born there, so we're pretty much British through and
Okay,
through. Um,
good.
I've only got one surviving grandmother now. She still has a Jamaican accent. That's on my dad's side. So yeah, living in London, it can be hard. It's fast paced, but then again, it's a melting pot as well. You've got people from different walks of life, different
Mm-hmm.
cultures, um, and if you have a good job, you live a good life. But if you're on the other side, it's really polarized there as well.
Sounds like, yeah, I say that sounds like the US to me.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to be careful, like to make sure you plan what you spend your money on, save. Um, but then again, you know, if you know people, you can get opportunities. So it really just depends, you know.
Now, how should I ask this? So I know London's a city, right? In the UK.
Yeah.
But what, I don't know, I guess I'm just gonna say neighborhood. We say call it neighborhood here. What neighborhood are you from within London?
Okay, so I grew up in a neighborhood called Feltham,
Okay.
and you might know the area by the airport, Heathrow Airport.
Yes, that's the only thing. Just there. That's all I know.
Yeah. So that is actually on the western border of London. So we would say that's Zone 6, which would be at least an hour from the city centre.
Okay. Feltham.
Feltham.
Feltham. Woo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's in So, but then when I moved out from my mum's, I then moved to a place called Notting Hill, and that's more central. And some people know the movie Notting Hill. It's quite famous. You might have heard of that.
I have.
And that's a bit more, we could say, upper class, maybe middle class. But that was good. I could afford to live there because I actually worked in the center. So, you know, I found ways to kind of, you know, make it work. Because, you know, it's better to live close to your job because transport there is so expensive.
Correct.
So, yeah, I've kind of, you know, moved around a bit. London is very, very large. Many people do commute at least 45 minutes or more to go to work. So you have to find a way to survive. Yeah.
Okay. That is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that is so cool. So what made you, and these aren't even my set interview questions, but you're just so interested. I just want to know. We haven't even talked about you learning Spanish. What else? Where is my mind? Where am I? This is why you should have questions prepared. This is an example
Don't worry.
there.
Yeah.
But we talked about, okay, you being.
I could ask you questions.
Huh?
I said I could ask you a few questions.
If you know what? That's not a bad idea. If something comes up, say it. If you think about something. All right. So we've talked about your family history, how your family got to London. Another question that while you were talking, it popped in my head. Oh, so what made you want to move away? How did you get from London to Spain?
Yeah. So it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. So I remember back in like the mid-90s, there was like this wave of like Latino artists that came out. You know, you had like J-Lo, Ricky Martin, Enrique Iglesias, Shakira. Well, Enrique is actually Spanish from Spain, but anyway. So I was like, oh, wow, you know, this is amazing. Like, I've never been exposed to Spanish language music before, so I got really curious.
Yeah.
And then at the time, like, people were really excited about Che Guevara. Like, everyone was wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah.
So I started getting obsessed with Cuba. So I started watching movies and using the subtitles. And then eventually when I did move to central London, I started to make some Latino friends. So primarily Colombian and Colombian, Puerto Rican, because we have Puerto Ricans there as well. Like we have everyone in London. It's crazy. So I started to make some like Spanish speaking friends. And then I started to go to Spain for vacation. And this became a yearly trend. So every year I went to Spain and I tried to go to a different city.
And excuse me, interrupt you. And you would just go by yourself, or you bring some friends, or
sometimes alone, sometimes with a friend.
Okay.
Eventually, I made a couple friends out there. So I had a friend in Madrid. I had a friend in Alicante. And I did have a friend in Barcelona, but then they moved to Almeria, which is in the south. And yeah, I didn't really plan ever to live in Spain. I was just like, oh, you know, England, rainy, cold, grey every day. Let's just go to Spain, you know, when we can. And then we just had this crazy Brexit situation last year. And that's when it was like, whoa, like, what's going to happen? Am I going to be like, going to get a visa to go to Spain now? So,
and for anybody who's watching and may not understand what you mean about Brexit, can you briefly explain what that is?
Yeah, so UK still at the moment are part of the European Union, but they had a referendum and they decided by a slight majority to leave the European Union. So that means that there won't be, well, we don't know yet because they're still discussing in terms and conditions. But yeah, basically, the UK is going to separate from Europe, and then everything's going to change, basically. So many people were afraid that they wouldn't be able to go to Europe freely, and because before we were allowed to just go there and live and work. But now, vice versa, that may not be possible. So yeah. I didn't want anything blocking my Spanish vacation trip, so I was like, I'm going to move to Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that is an interesting story. I think that's the beauty of living, well, more or less in Europe or in the area. You know, there are so many countries close together, just maybe a 1-hour flight, 2-hour flight.
Exactly.
And there's so much diversity, and there's diversity in the U.S., but it seems to be at a higher level overseas. So I love that, and I'm glad that you took the opportunity. So this is a good segue into the conversation about Spanish. So you already let us know that you fell in love or started to get a little taste of falling in love with the Hispanic or Latino culture in the 90s with the music boom. So now let's transition into why you decided to actually learn to speak it. Because some people like a culture, right, from a distance. You know, I'm going to watch it, I'm going to listen to it, but I don't necessarily want to learn the language. So tell us about that.
So with the music, obviously it sounded good. It was something new, exciting. But then if I go specifically with the Shakira part, obviously she came out, she transitioned to, what did they call it? They call it crossover, isn't it? She's a crossover artist. So obviously I didn't know her before she released her English album. I was like, oh my God, she had like discos. She had CDs in Spanish before. So I was like, wow. So naturally, I started to listen to the Spanish language albums, and then I would read the lyrics in the CDs, like back in the days.
A little cover, yeah.
You know, yeah. And then I was like, oh wow, you know. So little by little, I started to learn. And obviously, like I said before, I started going on vacation to Spain. So yeah, it was like I might as well learn the language so I can kind of like get around and survive. And I guess a little bit of me was a bit jealous also, because when I moved to central London, I started meeting different cultures, and everyone was at least bilingual. And I was like, wow, you know, I'm like, you know, Black British, and I just speak English, and obviously you know, I should have my own language, you know, since, you know, we're going to go into that melanin thing, like, you know, people of the diaspora that only speak English. I was kind of a bit like, felt a bit away. So I was like, well, I like Spanish, and why don't I just try and learn that language? And actually it seemed quite easy, really, initially. Yeah, so I just kept going, really. I just been teaching myself. I never really got official language classes, but, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that is really neat. Because that's going to come up later. How did you learn? But you pretty much already told us.
Oh, sorry.
but that's fine. But thanks to Shakira, and I'm glad you brought her up, because about a month ago I was watching a PBS documentary. What is it called? Latin Music USA, and it's old, but it's still available, you know, on the internet. I recommend anybody watch it. It's great if you want to know about the culture. That's one thing about learning a language. It always helps to learn the culture as well, and don't just take the language and throw the folks out. No, learn the language through the people. So Shakira is interesting because she is she's part Lebanese and part something else. I forget the other country. She's from Colombia. Where is she from?
Yeah, she's just Colombian and Lebanese.
There we go.
Just two, okay. Yeah.
And so according to the documentary, because you mentioned that she later came out with the English album, according to the documentary, when she got to the U.S., she connected with, what's the man name? Gloria Estefan's husband. I think that's right.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but yeah.
And so that's how she got into the industry. And so in the beginning, she only knew Spanish. And that's why she was not limited, but only had those Spanish songs or albums. And then at some point, they were able to get her, speaking English after some years, I believe.
Yeah.
And that opened her up to the rest of us. Like it opened her up to you.
Exactly,
So yeah. Well, good. And that's a really authentic take on how you learn, just through pure interest. I had another guest on, Special Sanders. She kind of learned through that way. So it's always nice when it's from a pure place.
And it was ironic because we were forced to take Spanish in the second year of high school, and I actually didn't care.
Hey, that's most of us.
Oh my God. And I wish I did, because by now I would probably be native. But, kids always have resistance. I mean, we were forced to learn French in the first year, and that was even worse. So let's not go down that road. But that class was literally like, do whatever the hell you want. The teacher was always shouting. So I'm sorry. I repent now as an adult, but whatever. But
no, I get it. I was the same way, even though I'm fluent now and I learned in college and got a degree and all that. In high school, who cares? Look up the answer on the internet. What the internet say? Okay, write that down.
Exactly.
And I guess that's with anything in life. When you don't have a pure love for something, or your own love, or see the need, like you were saying, teens just have a rebellious spirit anyway. You're like, let me just get through this. But even adults do that if it's something you're doing just because you're not as all in. So very honest perspective. All right, next up. So you learn, you're self-taught. So music was a biggie for you on how you learn. Is there anything else that you used to teach yourself?
So in the initial stages, I guess it was good in a way, but maybe people thought I was a bit crazy or obsessed. But I literally had an English to Spanish dictionary, and I even had a word phrase book that I didn't return to the library. And I would just, whenever I was on the bus going to work, I would just write down words that I thought I needed to know. Because, I think naturally, okay, what do I need to know? Like, I don't know, where's the bathroom, or can I have a coffee? Or, I tried to learn things like that.
Right.
And just to kind of build a vocabulary base. And then it got to the point where I started to record videos and voice record myself trying to have a conversation with myself. Because I didn't really have anyone at that time to kind of practice with. So I'd say it, try to get my ears used to my own voice speaking in Spanish. So that was the beginning. So reading lyrics from the songs, and then just writing down like verbs from the dictionary. Sounds boring, but
no,
it's the only way I thought I could.
It sounds wonderful. I mean, that is so nice because so oftentimes, even, and let me not blame people. I'm not gonna blame anybody, but let me start with the school systems. At least here in the U.S., it's taught in a way that's kind of shoved down our throat, and is really intimidating. And many people, that's what turns a lot of folks off as well. And this is public school, maybe private, college as well. It depends on your teacher, really. But it's often taught in a way that's intimidating. Like, here's all this information. Let me dump all this on you. Learn it, versus yours taking your time, taking it bit by bit, applying it to the real world. That's great. It doesn't sound boring. It sounds wonderful, like a nice, easy way. Because that's what, for me, this is what I tell people when they ask me, and I can ask you how long it took you to learn to get comfortable with. People say, how long does it take? Well, number one, depends on the person, right? Just what's going on in your brain. Number two, how dedicated the person is. And so obviously you were very dedicated. You're walking around with a book, you're writing, you're recording, you're doing so much. So you're dedicated. But then also I say, ultimately, no matter who it is, learning another language is a lifetime journey. Because there's always another word to learn, always a new verb, a new context, a new meaning for a word you always knew. But I didn't know it could be in that sense. So it is nothing to rush. And so your story of how you taught yourself, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but how long? And that's an additional question. How long did it take for you to get comfortable? That a year, 2 years, like with your self-taught method? How long was it before you actually had a conversation and was like, oh, I did that. Good, go me.
Yeah, so in the beginning, I'll have to admit that it was kind of, I think the problem when you self-taught sometimes, I'll say for some people, is that sometimes you may fall off, kind of thing. Like you're not consistent with the learning.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Oh, I don't want to scare people, but I want to say 3 to 5 years.
Sounds realistic to me.
Because I'm 35 now. So and now it's been about 15 years, maybe approximately. So yeah, at that time was when I kind of was in central London and I was mixing with other people. And I was sometimes forced into, okay, yeah, thank you. Memory lane made me remember. So there was a couple of jobs where I worked in central London where obviously you had tourists. So I was working in Whole Foods Market. We got it in London also.
Yes,
So we had some Spanish people coming in and I was able to speak a little bit with them. And I remember the first time I used the word pantalla. I know different pronunciations for it, but I was like, oh, mira la pantalla, porque they were asking like, where's the price? Like, how much is this? And I was like, está ahí en la pantalla. And then they're like, oh, gracias. I'm like, oh! So it was really, really exciting, you know?
Yeah. That's good.
And sometimes I was working in fashion retail and I got to kind of use my clothing vocabulary there also. So that's really good when you can put yourself in different situations where you can kind of use each, can I say, genre of vocabulary.
Okay.
So obviously clothing, food, transport, there's so much different boxes that you have to like force yourself to learn. So
yeah. Just because your person knows all the food in Spanish doesn't mean they know the construction terms or court terms.
Don't speak to me about science or politics because I can't help you in Spanish anyway.
Yeah, I know. I got you. Yeah. Okay, well, that's good, and that's always fun. Those first moments where you realize, hey, I am learning. I do know this, or I can apply it in a real situation. That's always great.
Exactly.
Always great encouragement to keep going.
And you can eavesdrop and actually understand what people are saying. That part's really fun as well.
Yeah,
I really enjoy that.
That's a good point. That is a good point. You know what? Yeah. Speaking of that, well, not eavesdropping, but knowing what to say in a crisis. That helped me when I was in Barcelona. Yeah. And I don't know what your experience has been since you've been traveling for years back and forth. But when I lived there I already said it, for 9 months. So within my time there, I traveled to Barcelona, Madrid, Valencia, a couple other places.
Yeah.
And I was robbed. So I don't know how.
Oh my God. Wow.
I was almost robbed. I put it that way. Okay, in general, for me going abroad, I've met the slickest thieves ever. When I go, obviously there are thieves here, but it seems like they're just like masterminds. Anyway, I hope it doesn't sound like I'm trying to generalize people. Anyway, I'm on the subway in Barcelona, just left the ATM, which is, I guess, a problem. It's too public, and withdrawn funds. And a team of women, this is why I'm saying it's like
females,
full of skill. It was a team. 3 women, they surrounded me on the subway. And anyway, I told this story on this before, so I'm gonna hurry up.
Okay.
Anyway, Tyrone, one of them took my money out of my purse.
Oh my God.
But when I asked her, "Dónde está mi dinero?" this other one on my left dropped the money. So they were so slick. My one on my right was able to pass to the one on the left. And that's when my point is, when they found out I could speak Spanish, that's when they got nervous. It was like, whoa, that's what, I mean, of course, I'm sure getting caught, made them surprised as well. But I think it was that Spanish, where is my money? Where is my bag? Leave me alone. I think that really helps. So that's not necessarily eavesdropping, but I guess my point is in connecting our statements is it helps to eavesdrop or get you out of trouble, or, those other things you don't think about.
Yeah, and even some other people I've spoken to, there's a girl I follow who was living in Dominican Republic, and she would advise people to try and learn the local lingo. For example, if you're trying to catch a taxi or something, because even street vendors, whoever, they could take advantage of you because they can clearly hear that you're foreign.
Yes, sir.
So your situation and other situations, it's definitely necessary to try and sound native, at least, sometimes.
That's always a good idea. And that's like even when when you're going somewhere where they even speak English, people will say like a tip here is just don't look like a tourist. Don't have your phone out and taking pictures and looking too out of place.
Yeah, yeah. I always try to dress down when I'm going on vacation, although I always get dragged by my friends and family because it's like, oh, you're in another place, you're supposed to like show out, and I'm just like, well, it's good to blend in sometimes, because obviously you're going to take a picture soon, and there's a difference between a tourist taking a picture and just like a native like talking on the phone,
Correct.
So I mean, I can tell when a foreigner arrives here now. Well, not saying that I'm native, but there's a certain way that foreigners walk, tourists. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's easy to spot them. So
no, I get it. And matter of fact, speaking of blending in, when I went to London and visited my friend at the time, she was telling me I was like standing out too much because I am loud. I'm a loud person. I'm not gonna lie. So she was saying I was too loud on the subway, and she was saying like, Tasha, bring it down,
turn it down.
You're sticking out. So
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, so we've talked about why you decided to learn, how you learned. Well, I think the next question is pretty obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you keep your language skills sharp?
Okay, so for me, it's probably quite easy because I actually live in Spain now. So obviously I enjoy speaking Spanish, but I'm also forced to speak Spanish. So yeah, I guess, trying to speak it every day. If you don't have someone to speak to, try to listen every day at least, so your ear gets accustomed to the sounds. Even reading, people say reading in your native language is necessary, but if you can also read in the target language, that's also good, because more than likely what you're reading is written correctly and it's not going to be slang or
yeah,
because once you move to the country of your target language, you're gonna, even in London or in America, you're going to meet different people, and not everyone's going to use the same diction. Some people might be speaking in slang a lot. So it's important to try and learn the language in its purest form, like how they would speak it on the news, for example.
Correct.
So at least you can differentiate whether or not you're speaking callejero, like road slang, or proper. Yeah, properly. I mean, I still listen to music, obviously. But yeah, I guess live interaction with humans is probably the best way, I believe.
And so let me add this to this question. You already had been learning and studying for so many years. But whenever you arrived in Spanish, did it go up a notch? Did you go up a couple levels? Did you realize, hey, I'm really advancing, or you were about the same because you were already pretty great?
So it's funny because when I was in England, like I thought I spoke good Spanish, but then when I arrived, actually it wasn't that great at all. And I believe that I only thought it was good because everyone told me I was good because no one else spoke it.
Oh, that's honest, Tyrone. Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sad slap of reality. But after a few months, it got to the point where I was able to, when you first hear the language, it just sounds like ra 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 ra. And then little by little, you kind of understand the majority, and then there's only a few words that you don't understand. So what happens was every time there was a word I was able to single out, I would write it down or try and remember it, or just ask the person, what does that mean? And so the level that I'm at now is I understand almost everything I hear, but there's always like one or two words that I don't know. But because of the context, I get what they mean.
That's it.
So that is really, really good. But yeah, I always try to at least find out what that word meant and don't just fluke it, or I don't know what you guys say over there, like
winging it.
Yeah, just don't presume what the word means, because maybe that one word could change the whole context.
I got you. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't assume.
Yeah, try not to assume, because there's so many like false friends, they call it. So I'll give you one example, which you probably know, like the word diversión. But in English, diversion is the false friend, and it's
like a
completely
distraction or
different.
something. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like I would say like road diversion, like we are on diversion because there's a traffic accident. But then
Oh,
diversión in Spanish actually means fun.
right, something positive. Yeah.
So imagine a Spanish person or Latino, they're going to England and they're going to see a sign saying diversión. They're like, oh, wow, por ahí está diversión. Like, we're going to have a good time. It's like, honey, your journey is an extra hour long.
And
So,
for me, when I think of diversion, I think of something that's like something made to distract a person, like
yeah,
avert your eyes over here, look at me. But yeah, either way,
yeah,
it's not fun. So yeah,
exactly,
that's
exactly.
a funny
You're
example.
creating a diversion, like you're not getting to the point, you know, it's like that also, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Exactly.
funny example. A person thinks, and
It's
I would
diverting the point.
it would be really funny if a person did that because they would see the diversion signs all over the city. So they'd be like, "Oh, it's a lot of fun around here." You know, they have signs
Yeah,
everywhere.
you made a good choice. Yeah.
Okay, this is good. This is good, Tyrone. Let's see. What was most difficult for you to learn when you first started?
Probably certain sounds. Yeah, we'd have to think hard now. Do you know when you speak in the language so long and you're at a certain level, and so it's hard to remember what the hard parts were?
No, I get it. It's been a while. I understand.
But I think probably the sounds. So, for example, the J sound, H is a silent, or H, sorry. What else? Oh yeah, with that kind of robotic thing that most people have, like sounding in the beginning. So I kind of figured out for myself that with certain words, if they end and begin with the same letter, you can like join the words together. So it makes you sound more fluent, or it makes you sound faster.
Yeah.
Can I give an example now? um,
So like me voy a la tienda. I'm trying to think. I know what you're saying. I can't think of an example
Yeah,
either.
me voy a la tienda. So instead of saying me voy a la tienda, some native English speakers might say me voy a la tienda.
Mm,
Like, you know?
copy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to kind of try and plan ahead kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, yeah, this is the thing that I still have issues with now, the masculine and feminine in the language also.
Oh yeah, Lord.
Oh my God. And some words, they're masculine, but they have a feminine determiner, is it called?
Well, like the end of the word ends in a, which you're told is normally feminine, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's just kind of like a little rebel or a surprise. It's opposite of what you think.
Yeah. Like, let's just quickly use the simplest example, like buenos dias. Like normally
Mm-hmm.
the AS means it's a feminine word, but they
Exactly.
say you have to say buenos, which is the masculine.
Exactly.
And thus far, no one's been able to explain to me why. And then they say buenas tardes, buenas noches. So ES
Mm-hmm.
on the end is feminine, but why is it feminine?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So ciao.
And another example, agua, el agua, right? Agua
Mm,
ends in a, but
yeah,
the article is el. So when, according to a teacher, I recently learned under, a lot of it just goes back to the history of the language,
yeah.
and which to me is I won't say too long, but I'm not trying to learn it all. But because even just like the U.S. has borrowed words from other languages, Spain does
Mm,
as well. A lot of
yeah,
borrowed words and what was that culture's rule for their words, and they are integrated. Just, it's a lot. It's a lot
yeah,
on the explanations.
yeah.
Oh,
It's
yes,
true.
sir. Okay, that's very honest. Your struggles they sound familiar to me. My
Yeah,
struggles
I've
I've
still got
had.
struggles. Yeah, everyone. It just goes to show that everyone's gonna struggle. No one's
That's it.
perfect, and
That's it.
yeah,
That's it. Very good.
true.
Okay. Woo, this conversation getting so good. It's longer than I thought. Longer
Uh-oh.
it would be, but
How long is it
long as I'm
now?
not taking up too much of your time.
No, I'm free for the moment, so yeah.
Good, good. Okay, next up. How has learning Spanish benefited you personally, professionally, or in any other way?
Okay, so personally, it's helped me to make more friends. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I've been to Spain many times. I now live here. And as you said earlier about learning the culture, it helped me to learn other people's cultures also. So a few times I've been to like Colombian restaurants and I've been able to enjoy like the delicacies and see some, you know, traditional dances, etc. And I really love, like I said earlier, Cuban, Puerto Rican culture. I really enjoy that also. Um, so yeah, making new friends, learning different cultures, understanding the cultures. In terms of work, as I mentioned before, I'm an English tutor, and sometimes I've had to conduct a lesson half in English and half in Spanish.
Hey, I understand. I get
Yeah.
it.
So
Because
if
it's hard
I,
to teach
yeah,
somebody when they don't understand any of the words you're saying. Like, especially the beginners, they're like, not every, and everybody's different. I've had some
yeah,
immersion classes here. I've been a part of immersion classes. So some
yeah,
students, even though they don't know a word out of your mouth, they'll try. But most people, especially in the beginning, they're just like they give up. So
yeah,
I get it why you feel like you need to teach a little bit of both to even
yeah,
bring them in, to reel them in.
exactly, just to make them feel a bit more comfortable. And especially if they like I said earlier with the French classes, she was giving us full immersion, and the only time she spoke in English was, I don't know, maybe she's calling the register in the beginning. So yeah, if the student is being forced to learn a language, and you're just doing full immersion, it's going to fail.
Yeah, I agree. Because they already really
So
don't want to learn. They already like,
yeah.
I don't even care.
So
Mm.
professionally, it has helped me that I already had a foundation in the language. And living day to day in a Spanish-speaking country, people relax a bit more when you approach them in their language as well. Some people are excited, like, "Oh, you are from London, wow!" Because they are probably learning English themselves, and so you can probably get by with a little bit of Spanglish.
Yeah,
But in general, I think out of respect, trying to open up in their language is probably the best way, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So personal, professional was their third one.
Or any other way. But I think you gave them all.
And then just, yeah, like pastimes. I can watch movies now. I can go to the cinema in Spanish.
Yeah,
I've done some karaoke in Spanish. Yeah, it just expands. Everything just expands. It does feel like your brain is growing when you learn another language. It's weird. It's just it's like a new world, and
it
that's just
is.
one language, just one language. So
It is.
you
And
know,
yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I'm glad you say that because I'm meeting more and more polyglots with 3, 4, 5. I'm like, ooh, it's to me
yeah,
it took a lot for me just to learn another. I don't know if I could do 3, 4, 5, 6.
yeah,
But I applaud people like that. But that's another question. It's not scripted.
yeah.
Are you currently learning a third, or do you have interest?
So kind of answers the question. So at one point I had a few Portuguese and Brazilian friends. Now I've only got like 2 Portuguese friends because the Brazilian ones went back home. But they used to speak Portuguese around me, and they used to be upset that I didn't want to learn Portuguese. But that being said, because I was kind of in full immersion, I can more or less understand Portuguese. I don't know, maybe like 40%, maybe. I can't really respond, but I can understand, and I can kind of understand Italian. I don't know, maybe like 20% something, because there are some similar words to Spanish. There was one point where I kind of wanted to learn Swahili, but I didn't really carry on.
Mm.
I guess I needed some more motivation, and I was almost going to learn Greek,
Mm.
which is a bit random because I actually like the sound of Greek. I find that it's similar to Spanish in certain ways. I know how to say good morning, good afternoon, good night
Okay.
in Greek, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try that again. The Greek.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the sounds seem easier for me to grasp. I hear people they say that they learn Korean, Mandarin, da da da. But for me, it's just too. Ooh, I don't know. It's too far.
It's
Yeah,
not.
like,
It's not. Yeah. At least with Spanish
yeah,
and other languages, you're still dealing with the alphabet you're used to, and
yeah,
not. Is it called pinyin when you have one? one system's drawings, another
Oh
system's
gosh, from
letters.
like the right to left as well. That's
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
So
But I told myself if I learn anything, it would be Mandarin, just because I think it's beneficial in business. But
that's
you
what
were
they
right
say.
on. You're right on it being like a stretch. Like, there's Spanish, Italian, Greek,
Yeah,
Mandarin, way over there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you can write Mandarin with Roman numerals. Like, I don't know if it's possible, but maybe there's a way. But
No idea.
I need my ABCs, okay?
Amen.
Oh,
I need
God.
something familiar. Thank you.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, let's see. Just a few more questions left, and thank you to the viewers who are still watching and tuning in. We appreciate it. Hope you're learning something, and your eyes and mind are being opened. Next up, now I know you're from the UK, so I don't know what's different culturally, but maybe nothing. Let's see. Is it the same in the UK that people automatically assume you're going to make a lot of money because you speak Spanish? Because from my experience here, family, friends, or just people I don't even know, if I say, "Oh, I speak Spanish," or they hear me speaking fluently, "Oh, you're making that big money." And so, let's say big money is 100,000 USD a year. Everybody has a different definition of what's big money. So let's start there. And I found that no, just because you know another language doesn't mean money is coming out of the sky and
Yeah.
opportunity to live right. So is that a common assumption, or in the UK, that people have heard you and say, "Oh, you must make so much money,"
Yeah. I don't know if it's really. Maybe they do, because when I said I was going to go to Spain to teach English, they were like, "Oh wow, that's great. It's a great profession." Yeah, I mean, maybe there was a little bit of that. But in reality, the money here is worth a little bit less than in the UK, and there's a good standard of living here, but everything is like a lot cheaper. So the average wage here can be like 800 euros to 1,000 euros. That's the average wage. If you've got a good job, maybe 150, like 1,500 euros. But yeah, the average wage is lower than the average wage in the UK. If you're like a shop girl or whatever, you might get like £1,000 sterling.
Yeah.
So and also I live in the third largest city in the country. So if I lived in the capital, then I probably would be in that higher bracket, But when you try to give your prices to the big city kind of comparison, people are like, "Oh no, it's too expensive," or da da da. So here is a bit more bartering, like people want to have a bit more of a discount. So I'm not actually rolling in money now. I'm getting by. And hopefully September will be better because the school term starts again. So there's going to be, more private lessons, and academies will be open, schools will be opening up again. So yeah, I think people do think, "Oh, you're gonna make it big," because it's like, wow, in general, yeah.
Yeah, the wow factor of it. That's a good point.
Yeah, because it's something that I don't think a lot of people try to do what we do. Like learn another language, and then like some people move to another country. Some people just think you're crazy, like, why the hell? But I'm just like, it's time to change. I just go with the flow. I'm an air sign, so.
I know, I get it. I agree with that, because I have never heard anybody say I was crazy, except my mom. Like when I told her I was going, she was like, "For what?" But other than her, most people now, understand the beauty of being abroad. But my point is your decision. I agree. Like, why not? I don't know your life, but I'm assuming you don't have a spouse or children. If I didn't, I'd probably be living somewhere else as well. So, why not? Because you can always go back home. Your citizenship is your citizenship until the world as we know and the structures just change completely. But until then, you can go back home at any time. So why not live free and see other stuff while you can?
Yeah, and the thing is, I put this off for so long because I thought about this like 10 years ago, but I was scared. I just moved into an apartment, so I had a contract to fulfill, and you know, when you just kind of, when they say you're like trapped in the rat race and you can't really see outside the box, and I think I was a bit complacent and
Yeah,
a bit
that
comfortable.
tunnel vision.
Yeah, and you're like you got security, and it's like too much of a big like jump, like a gamble, you know. And people were just saying to me, "Why don't you just do it? Like, just try. If you fail, you can come back."
That's exactly.
And
You can always go home.
yeah, and like you mentioned, I don't have any, you know, dependents or anything like that, so I am privileged in a way that I could just get up and move. I
Yeah.
will admit that. Um, yeah, but I mean, being a singleton and running around the world, I mean, it is fun, but sometimes you do wish that you had someone to kind of bounce off of,
Mhm.
or, you know, if for example, when the crisis happened and I was like flat broke,
Mhm.
you know, rice and pasta and water, I wish I had a partner who could have like supplemented my income, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So there's
Mhm.
pros and cons, there are, but
Yeah.
I think everything in life, there is a lesson in everything as well, and I'm surviving, and it will be something to look back on and
Yeah.
use as experience, and hopefully not repeat.
Good. Okay,
Yeah.
we're coming up on an hour, so I'm going to ask
Okay.
two things, and then we'll wrap it on up. And so I had some questions. This is still not on the scripted question, but
Okay.
how has it been for you being a melanated person in Spain? I remember my experience. It's pretty obvious that I stuck out like a sore thumb.
Mm.
Um, and I was in a small town. You say you live in the third largest city in the country,
Yeah.
so that could help or help or hurt. But
Yeah.
I would imagine people are used to more diversity. I
Mm.
was in the south in Buyas in Murcia,
Oh,
um,
Murcia. Okay. Yeah.
in a small country town called Booyah. So just
Okay.
like in the U.S. and probably any place, a small town, small minds, but the people treat me really well, so I'm not knocking it.
Okay.
But still, of course, people are gonna be like, well, no,
Mm.
students. Like when I was in the school, are you from Africa? No, I'm
Oh,
not. Babe, I'm not from Africa.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
how and what city are you in Spain?
Valencia.
Okay. Oh,
Mhm.
that's a nice chill town. I like Valencia.
Yeah.
It's
It's nice.
peaceful.
It's
That's what I
cool.
remember. I remember being peaceful.
Mm.
Um, how has your experience been there? Being melanated, do you stick out? Not so much. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I did. Well, the first time I came here was in October last year. No, sorry, tell a lie. It was in 2018. So I came for like a couple of weeks. And obviously I was in tourist mode, so I wasn't really looking for any sort of bad vibes or anything like that, you know? But then when I moved here in February 2019, and I had to like live the normal life,
Yeah.
that's when I started to pay more attention to how people were treating me. If I had to go to
Mm,
the post office, to the bank, to the doctor, um, and I will be brutally honest because I
that's
don't want to like paint any like false hopes, but I have experienced some microaggressions.
mm,
For example, if anyone doesn't know what that means, it could be like you're walking past someone, normally like middle-aged women, and they might like grab their bag a bit closer to them, or
mm.
maybe someone doesn't sit next to you on the metro.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I have had times where people have let me just go in front of them in the supermarket because I only had 2 items and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked for directions, how to use they have these bicycles that you can rent in the city. Like some man, he spent almost 10 minutes explaining how to use it. I was like, okay, I got the information in the first 2 minutes. But I think you can experience everything. People, yeah, I said microaggressions has been the maximum that I've experienced. I've never experienced anything really bad. Um, and then when people find out you're British, well, I'm sure for you, maybe when you said you're American, they're like, "Oh my God," you know. So I
Yeah.
think we may have a bit of privilege being from, what do you call it, Anglophone countries,
Mm-hmm.
English-speaking countries. So people are really excited when they hear that I'm actually British. You know, sometimes people think that I'm Brazilian or Cuban or Dominican when I arrive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how they feel about those people, but I seem to be received well when they find out that I'm British.
Okay. Okay.
But here it's very, very community based. People are very like Buenos dias, hola, da da da. People are very, how can I say?
Yeah,
There's a
communal.
yeah. It's completely different to where I'm from. Like in London, people are like a bit like, "What do you want?" Like, you know. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's the same where you're from, but here it's like if you don't respond when someone says "Buenos dias," they look at you strange. So you kind of almost feel pressure. Initially, I felt
well,
pressure to say "Buenos dias" when I entered a shop or anywhere.
yeah.
You know? But
Well,
it's
no,
good.
that's actually familiar because I'm in the U.S., but I'm in the South, so we
Okay.
have something called Southern hospitality, which
Ah,
doesn't mean people aren't rude and crazy, but that
yeah,
is standard to speak if you're walking past somebody or if you make eye contact. It's like
yeah,
speak, hi, hi,
yeah.
especially in smaller areas. So I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Your experience.
Yeah. So initially, I was very like, oh, because I'm not used to that. Speaking to strangers. Mama always said, don't speak to strangers. But here, they encourage it. And I think on the other side, it's good because you know your neighbors, you become familiar face. And yeah, you just become part of the community faster. So on that side, it's a really good thing. So I actually
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that now. And I don't feel like people stare at me now. Like they did before, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
So
probably because they're used to you, like, oh, that's Tyrone or whatever, they happen to call
yeah,
you. That
yeah,
people got used to me at some point in the town. So I got you.
yeah.
I got
So it's good.
you. Okay, last question, and then we are gonna go over those interview questions. I'm not sorry, introduction questions, so we can clarify
Yeah,
information for the viewers that are still watching after an hour. Thank you.
yeah,
Is there something behind your name? Can you talk about your name?
yeah. So yeah, it's written Tyrone Rodriguez. So Tyrone is actually my real name, but it is my middle name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a name that I just decided like my friends can call me that. You know, like you have like nicknames and all that. So I just took my middle name and said, okay, my friends are gonna call me Tyrone. The Rodriguez part, that is when I opened first. When Facebook first opened, I decided that I wanted a Facebook name. So, because people say, be careful of scams. Someone's gonna say, your uncle died in Nigeria, and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a fake name on social media, and so Rodriguez was the fake name. Now, why I chose Rodriguez was because I think when Facebook opened was around the time I started learning Spanish. So do you see where I'm going with this? So I was like, okay, let me create a personaje, like a personality, to kind of help me like submerge myself in the process. So I was like, my name is Tyrone Rodriguez. And the thing is, when MySpace was actually in operation, I had a profile there first. And believe it or not, my first fake name was Martinez. Because I was trying so hard to find like a really, really like hardcore Spanish name. But I don't know why I changed it to Rodriguez, but I just stuck with it. And I've had that name for years now, and I use it on YouTube now, Tyrone Rodriguez. And I've done a video explaining why Tyrone Rodriguez is my name.
Uh-huh.
And I was a little bit scared because people will probably say, oh, cultural appropriation or
You
self
know,
self hate. You don't want to be black. You self hate. And I'm like, listen. It's just to help me get in the language,
no,
I'm
look,
trying to be
let
like,
me let
don't
me
go
say
there.
this, Tyrone, because you are right, and I have battled with that being
Yeah,
a fluent native speaker because I'm sorry, fluent native speaker, no, a fluent Spanish speaker,
yeah,
because like we have both discussed, when you're learning, it's always a great idea to learn the culture. So when
yeah,
you learn the culture, you start to fall in love and like, oh, I want to, you start to see yourself sometimes, especially being melanated, because there
yeah.
are many Afro Latinos in every, Latin American
Thank
country. So
you.
it's
Yeah,
easy to feel a connection. Like in my mind, I'm Cuban. I don't care what nobody say.
there we go.
And of course I tell the truth, but like
Yeah,
when people here ask me, oh, you speak Spanish, where you from? La Habana, soy de Cuba. So, you know,
it's
and
funny
then
you said that because remember in the beginning when I said that I was obsessed with Cuba as well, and so
yeah,
I picked
yeah.
somewhere on a map and I said, oh, I'm from Cienfuegos.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's in the north of the island in Cuba.
You know more
Oh,
than me. I just picked
yeah.
Havana.
So we here, like
Yeah,
so
so
I
like
was doing
I'm
that.
gonna be Cuban, but I'll explain. Like
Yeah,
later. I don't just necessarily go with a lot. But my point is,
yeah,
I get your point on people saying cultural appropriation and all that, because honestly, at the end of the day, I believe, well, I don't know about the UK, but here we're all appropriating. Many of our Latinos here like Black culture and, you know, how we look and how we dress. And so I
Yeah.
think everybody's taking a little bit from everybody else. And
Yeah.
if you're doing it out of love, out of purity, not to abuse, because I think about appropriation when you just want a part of the culture, but you still don't even like the people. That's one thing. But when it's out of love, it's out of interest, and you really feel true connection, that's a different thing. So
and you don't like show like where your influence came from, and you don't reference back to certain things as well. You know. And yeah, I mean, okay, so we're learning Spanish. I don't know if you're learning other languages, but I mean, like you said, the African diaspora, there are people who are Black, born Black, who naturally speak Spanish or any other language. I mean, so it's not like, you know, I'm not trying to be a white Spaniard. I'm not trying to be a white Puerto Rican. Like, you know. It's just ridiculous.
You're connecting with really like a piece of your history to just end up somewhere else. That group of people ended up getting off the boat before.
We come in different colors. We also come in different languages. So, you know. And at one point, quickly, I'm going to throw in is that when I decided to learn Spanish and move to Spain, someone, I don't even know their name actually, but someone commented on my video on YouTube, "Oh, why are you learning Spanish? There are more Black people that speak French." And I was just thinking to myself, so.
Exactly. Like, let us learn all the languages, French, German.
And how does she even know that? Because, you know, we know that Brazil has, I think they said, the biggest Black population outside of Africa. They speak Portuguese. And I think that probably there are more Black people that speak Spanish in the world than French. Because, as you know, South America and the Caribbean alone.
Huge numbers. So yeah, I don't know. That's the thing, especially on YouTube or any comments anywhere. But definitely don't go to the comments because it's a lot of fools in the comments.
And French, if we really want to take it there, I don't know how deep you go on your page, but French is still a colonizer's country language. Sorry. So what is better, French or Spanish? And if you're speaking to me in English, did your ancestors speak English?
No, they're all colonized languges.
It's a T,
so
okay.
Learning one, use it to your advantage and move on. So keep going.
Writing to me in English when you know your great grandparents didn't speak English. Okay.
That's it. Come on now. That's it. You got it. Well, this has been really nice.
Really fun,
I've enjoyed you. So let's wrap up with you talking about yourself in English. So your name, as we know, is Tyrone Rodriguez, and your pastimes. What did you tell us about your pastimes?
So I explained that I like to draw. I like to sing karaoke. I always feel embarrassed because like karaoke is like a love-hate thing. Like some people hate it, some people love it.
I love it, but yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. If you don't have to sing to enjoy it. I mean, people are scared, but you know, it's just fun. You know, you let your hair down. You know. I like to go to the beach. Doesn't have to be in the water. Can be just enjoying the ambience. Cinema, yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and I like to blog. I'm a blogger, so you know, YouTube, Instagram. I'll be uploading every day almost. So
dedicated, yeah. I can't do it every day, but that's dedication.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've already talked about this. So as you all already know, he is from London. Your family. What did you tell us about your family?
Yes, so my mother is half white English and St. Lucian in the Caribbean, and my dad is fully Jamaican, Black, and they were born in England. And I have 2 sisters and 4 brothers. I'm single.
Out of the 7.
Yeah, and I'm the 7th child. And yeah, we're just much to say Black British family, really. Yeah, Caribbean derivative, I guess.
Okay. Your job or jobs?
So currently, I'm an English tutor. So I mainly help students with their English homework. So before the crisis, I was giving private lessons in the students' homes, but now I do it online, so via Skype. And yeah, sometimes if I get contacted by a company, I may do some like marketing online. And yeah, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know. So yeah.
And I remember
digital nomad, they call it. Yeah.
what you say?
I think they call it digital nomad. So when you're basically just working from a laptop, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know, never heard of that one. That's an interesting term.
Yeah,
nomad.
self-employed digital nomads. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Next up, what do you want to do or be in the future if it's different than what you're doing now?
So I feel like I will continue to teach for now. But maybe I might move more into the marketing side, you know, like promoting products or services for companies. I really enjoy like explaining things, you know, like how things work, and yeah, just promoting things. I love editing videos as well, so I want to kind of do more on that side as well. It's really satisfying to like create a digital product, or you know, like I enjoy editing videos, so the finished product is just so exciting, you know. So yeah.
Good. And we're in the age of everything being virtual and digital, so you definitely are gonna keep a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up, lastly, the song I had trouble pronouncing. Your favorite song that's in Spanish, or favorite Spanish singer, Spanish speaking singer.
So it's funny that I mentioned Shakira earlier, but I actually said in Spanish the guy Alejandro Fernandez, and his song is Tantita Pena. I say it in my English accent. For the English people or like Americans, I'm always gonna like. So his name is Alejandro Fernandez, and the song is Tantita Pena.
Now they can type it in because it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Google it.
So it's kind of got like a flamenco sound, but then again, it's got like a salsa sound also.
Yeah.
And he normally sings like mariachi, kind of traditional Mexican music.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a very strong voice. It's almost operatic, but it has that obviously Latino kind of like undertone, you know?
Okay.
So yeah, I really like his voice because you know, I think male singers, they don't really get a lot of shine a lot. It's normally like female singers.
I
So,
think the opposite. I don't hear nothing but male singers, especially out of, I guess, Mexican culture. All the little bands, man. But you know, that's just my perspective.
Yeah, so I mean, I prefer female singers, but now and again you will hear a good male. So Alejandro, he's got a really, really good voice. Yeah, I'll just say that's my favorite song. Yeah.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, I can't say thanks enough, Tyrone. Oh, you mentioned having a YouTube page. So what is it? Is it just Tyrone Rodriguez? How can people connect with you or continue to connect?
Yeah, so Tyrone Rodriguez is my screen name, but my YouTube and Instagram is Chameleon's Eye.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the lizard chameleon.
Mm-hmm. And then the eye.
So, the Instagram, there's an underscore, so it's chameleons _ eye.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just use those two mostly, Instagram and YouTube. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, feel free to follow him and subscribe to his channel, everybody. And thank you all for watching. And Tyrone, muchísimas gracias.
De nada, fue un placer.
Igualmente. Hasta
Sí.
luego.
Hasta luego, chao.